Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the season 3 finale of Wind Down Wednesday with my Lady of the Week. Came on just a little early because I wanted to say a couple of thank yous. So first, I want to say thank you to all of you who have tuned in over the course of the last 10 weeks, guys. I cannot believe it's been 10 whole weeks for season 3, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for rocking out with your girl. When I started this 30 some odd weeks ago, I had no idea what to expect, but I do know you all have tuned in every week, and you all have, like I said, rocked out with your girl. So I'm so thankful. I don't take anything for granted. And again, I just wanted to come on first and say thank you to all of you. Secondly, I want to thank my girl, the queen of crochet _LA, for hooking your girl up. Yes, I got my hair done over because I am leaving the country tomorrow. So of course I had to have a fresh do. I'm going to turn this down a little. I also want to thank my wonderful makeup artist, Alex, for hooking me up every week. Alex, you show up for me every week, and you show out for me every week. So I just wanted to tell you I love you, and thank you so much for, giving me some glam every week. So you guys can follow him at MUA Alex, and that's with 2 X's. All right, so go show him some love. And let me see who we have coming on in the wine room right now. We got a few people joining us. A few of you are on time. Hey, Alex. Hey, Charlene Austin. Hey, lady. How are you? Let's see who else. Oh, my son's father is here. Hey, Mr. K/10. Are you going to join us for the whole evening? Hello. Who else we have? We have Undane V has joined us as well. Hello, hello, hello. So listen, guys. This week's Wind Down Wednesday is something that's really near and dear to me. Something that's very important, and especially as women, sometimes we forget to do. We sometimes are the last ones to take care of ourselves. We put everyone else before us. And so this week's wind down is dedicated to the importance of self-care, confidence, and character. So that's what we'll be discussing this evening. I'm going to wait a few minutes to bring my Lady of the Week into the wine room, but you guys know the drill. We always raise our glass and have a toast so that we can have a really good conversation. Let's see who else we have in here. Hey, Charles at C_FX. Hi, how are you? Let's see who else we have. Okay, so guys, I'm just gonna wait for my Lady of the Week, who is Dr. Joy K. Evans. She is who is going to be joining us here momentarily. As soon as she pushes her button, I can bring her on into the wine room and we can get this conversation started. How's everybody doing today, this Wednesday? Oop, guys, she just pushed her button. So give me 1 second while I bring her on into the wine room. Take about maybe 3 seconds real quick. So again, I was asking you guys, how's everybody doing this evening? Yes, we are at the last Wednesday in July. So hey, Dr. Evans. Hi, Dr. Joy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. Can you hear me just fine?
Sound great. Can you hear me?
I can. Well, thank you so much for joining us here in the wine room this evening. You look amazing.
So do you.
Thank you. I was telling everyone the title of this week's Wind Down Wednesday is the importance of self-care, confidence, and character. Before we get into the conversation, let's make sure we raise our glasses and have a little toast. Clink, 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 clink.
Toast.
All right, so real quick, can you please tell everyone who you are and where you're from?
Absolutely. So I am Joy Vina, as I go by Joy or Dr. Joy. I was born in Virginia, raised in Michigan, but currently I live in the DC area. I'm here with each and every.
Wonderful. She's in the DMV area. All right, so real quick, I want to, as they say, give you your props, your roses before we get started. And I think everyone needs to know who I have on this live this evening. So if you will allow me just to read a little bit of your bio that we have. So just a little bit, so they can understand who we have here in the wine room tonight. So you earned your PhD and MS in public health. You have an MS in administration and a BBA in business. You also completed the Women in Education Leadership Program through Harvard. See how I say that? Harvard University's Graduate School of Education, and you earned your Executive Leadership and High Performance Leadership certificates from Cornell University. But hold up, I'm not done. You are also the creator of the Confidence Academy, and you've self-published 3 books, Dr. Joy. Let me give you your virtual round of applause and your props, okay? So listen, so as I stated, this live is about the importance of self-care, confidence, and character. Can you please talk to us? Why is self-care so important?
Absolutely. So self-care, to be honest, I did not practice it a lot. And this time, we always hear about that grind mentality where everyone is like grind, 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 which is important. However, you have to be conscious and make sure that you are taking time to care on yourself. A lot of times, we think of self-care, we only think of it as a pamper day.
Yep.
Mani-pedi, and that's it. But self-care goes far beyond that. So when you think of self-care as care of the mind, your emotions, your heart, you know, physically, it's care in all areas. That includes friendships. That includes toxic friendships as well. Making sure that we are actually taking care of our space and caring about boundaries as well. So it really, for me, it essentially started, I would say, with going through a tumultuous season, being in a place of depression, and understanding and realizing that I can't keep doing everything. I can't keep trying to meet everyone's expectations and burning myself out.
Do you find that women particularly suffer from not doing the self-care work versus men?
I would say I think men are probably worse.
Oh, okay.
Men may be worse as it pertains to their career, as it pertains to their career and job. Let me say this. Let me back up. I would say it's equal. Men, I think, is just pertaining to mainly probably their career, whereas women, a lot of times we're superwoman, right? So we're wife, we're sister, we're the friend that's there for everyone. We're serving in ministry at church. We're working. We're getting our degree. So we're active in our sorority, whatever the case may be. We're doing usually a lot of things, trying to balance everything else. So I do think it's probably equal. I have not seen any data on this, so this is just what my thought is. I do think that it's possibly equal, but I think the way we handle it is differently.
Now you brought up something. You said self-care as it relates to our mental. And I don't think a lot of people put as much effort into that as they do into maybe the physical. So can you talk about what that self-care looks like mentally?
Absolutely. So I'll give you a story. So again, the DMV area. And in January, I had a doctor's appointment. My doctor was in DC. So I went to the doctor's appointment in DC, and I went in. I was, I had to sit in my car for a little bit until they called me in. I went in. They took my blood pressure, and she goes, "Do you have high blood pressure?" I'm like, "No." And I had a little bit of an attitude. "No, what you mean?
What are you talking about? High blood pressure? Right.
I'm like, I walk that, I have this healthy lifestyle. Like, no. So anyway, she was like, A little bit later, the same MA, she took my blood pressure in the other arm. It still was elevated. So I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, oh no. So I was still a little bit offended. When I left the appointment, went to my car and started driving, it clicked. This was shortly after everything happened at the Capitol on the insurrection. While I was waiting on them to call me, I had put in my GPS, how far is the Capitol from here? What if something pop off and I'm in DC, in the DC area?
Right.
I didn't realize, but there was a level of anxiety that came over me because of the proximity I was to the US. And so with that, my blood pressure started elevating, and I became obsessed watching CNN. I was always watching CNN. I was always trying to see what was going on, and it started impacting me. So when I say care of the mental, it's knowing when to step away. It's knowing when to say, you know what, I need to unapologetically disconnect from social media, from people, from the news, from whatever it may be, and being unapologetic about that. Anyone who knows me, if you are on this live and you know me, you can attest to the fact that I will put my phone on do not disturb in a heartbeat. Like, I will say I'm shutting down, and that's it. I that day, and I think everyone should consider that.
Yeah, I think it's so hard for us to say no sometimes, and say it unapologetically, to your point. We often feel like if we're saying no, we're letting people down, but we don't understand how that is so freeing to us, and understand that no is a complete sentence. You don't need anything after that, So as we talk about self-care, and I'm thinking about like a stay-at-home mom, wife, how can they incorporate self-care into their lives?
So I would say one thing that they could potentially do is it could just be a walk, whether it's walking in the morning, walking in the evening, just taking that time to walk, even if you're walking, whether you're walking with the kids, or if you're able to have, hubby watch the kids or somebody else watch the kid. But it could be going for a walk. It could be when the children are asleep. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and watch Scandal. Well, I'm going to go to Hulu and watch my favorite show. It could be a situation where it's go ahead and have that froyo. Go ahead and get that froyo, or go to the kids are at school. Treat yourself. But it could also mean setting up a time management, some type of time management plan.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you something that I started is I don't do chores weekend.
Can you say that again, Dr. Joy? Because you're kind of going out.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I don't do chores on the weekend.
Mm.
So Thursday is the last day I do all of my washing, cleaning, everything on Thursday. So the weekend is free to truly reset. Because a lot of times we work Monday through Friday, and then a weekend we're washing clothes, running errands, all these other things. Thursday is the last day I do everything so I can truly reset on the weekend. So it may be a matter of doing something like that where you have the week, you free the weekend up, and you're able to rest and reset.
Okay. So let me go back to something that you said. You said something about the friendship or friends kind of self-care, and knowing when maybe to step away from some toxic relationships. What's the best advice that you can give for that? Because I think often, because we've known people for a long time, we're afraid to maybe sever some of those ties. So how do you feel is the best way to maybe go about doing that, so that you are doing that self-care for yourself? Because that's mental as well.
I think that, so a couple of things, and I apologize. I see a couple of people saying that they're receiving feedback. So I don't know what's going on with the feedback, but I think a couple of things are, so for me, I'm not trying to put my faith off on anyone, but I will say I am a Christian. I'm a praying woman. I have a prayer that I pray, and that is for God to sever the ties of anyone that's not supposed to be in my life. I don't have the strength to walk away. Let them walk away from me.
Ooh, say that again.
If I don't have the strength to walk away, let them walk away from me. And every time I feel like it happens, so if there's a need for God to say something happens naturally. That has happened sometimes, but then also it may be a conversation. Maybe you need to have a conversation with that person, or maybe it just organically dissolves, because it doesn't have to be nasty and negative. The end of the relationship at all. Think of it as the beginning of something new, the beginning of a new season. It's just without you. It's a new season without you.
Look, sometimes we can't take everybody where we're going, so I totally understand. Okay, so how do you define social self-care? What does that look like?
So I've never necessarily heard of social self-care, but if I'm thinking of it or interpreting it the way that I think you are, I would say, for me, it goes with saying no. I don't feel like going somewhere. I'm not going to go. I'm not, and this is even with family. One of my nieces and I talked about this recently. If I don't feel like visiting a certain family member, I'm just not going, especially if it's toxic. You know, I'm
Yeah.
to feel obligated to visit because I have to protect my peace at all costs. And so if going around you elevates my blood pressure or gives me anxiety or puts me in a negative space or it makes me want to take this wine glass and knock you over the head, you know,
Right. It's not, I don't need to be there.
I don't
Right.
stay around.
Right.
So it's knowing when to say, you know what, I just don't want to do that today. Being okay with saying, not feeling obligated and those boundaries, but not feeling obligated to say, yeah, I'll go, knowing that you really don't want to go.
Right. Why do you think it's so hard? Why do you think it's just so hard for us to just say no and be okay with it? I just feel like society has this narrative, especially for women, that we are like these people pleasers, you know? And I think through your 20s, you're kind of the people pleasers. You're kind of doing everything that everybody wants to do. Your 30s, you're kind of still doing, and it's not until maybe like after your 40s that you kind of settle into like who you are and you're able to kind of stand firm in your decisions. But why do you think that is to begin with?
I think that we just have, going back to the term that you use, people pleasing, we're
Mm-hmm.
so addicted to pleasing people and what people have to say. I don't want anyone to think I'm so something that I suffered with, especially when I obtained my PhD. It
Mm-hmm.
was, I don't want anyone to think I'm acting funny because I got this PhD, and it was a feeling of obligation. Like I still had to be in the same circle. I still had to think the same thoughts. And I finally got to a place of comfort where I was confident enough
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not who I used to be. And I'm okay with it. I didn't work this hard to be the same person I was even a month ago. And it
Right.
has to do with education. It has to do with my mentality. It has to do with my emotions. You know, and before I was 21, my friends and I, we were done. Well, I can't say all of us, but I was done going to the club before I was 21 because we have
Right.
so much and we can get into the clubs before we were 21. The bouncers, if you looked a certain way, bouncers would let you in.
Yeah.
So I was a child. I thought as a child, I acted as a child, but when I grew up, I put away childish things. And so those things just don't appeal to me anymore. And I'm comfortable and confident enough to say, you know, no, I don't want to do that. Like you said, no is a complete sentence. And a lot of times saying no to you is saying yes to myself. It's saying yes to my peace. It's saying yes to
Absolutely.
my comfort and yes to my sanity sometimes.
Absolutely. Okay, so you mentioned the word confidence and you created what you call the Confidence Academy. Can you talk about that? What is the Confidence Academy?
Absolutely. So Confidence Academy was birthed from a tumultuous season. It was birthed from a place of a hellish season that I went through with relationships ending. My godfather was killed in a motorcycle accident, um,
Mm.
died at the scene. My aunt dropped dead. There was an assassinate my character at work. All of these things were happening back to back to back. And for me, for me, what ended up happening, I realized, especially with the relationship, I tied my self-worth to the relationship, to being in a relationship. I tied my self-worth at the time to being married, and we were engaged, but I felt like being at that point about to get married, that meant I was like I was validated, that I was different, that I was higher than others.
But for a lot of women, they do take that.
Yeah.
And let me just say this real quick. You can be accomplished, you can travel the world, you can have done all these things, but if you're not married, there's like, uh-oh, you know, so I totally understand what you mean by that.
Yeah, yeah. And so I realized that I tied it to the relationship. So when the relationship ended, there was a sense of, oh my gosh, like, is something wrong with me? Like, is something wrong because I'm not married, you know, and all of that. And so that's where essentially it came from. And so my pastor, at the time when I was in Michigan, Pastor Solomon Kinlock, he made a statement one day in a sermon, and he said, we don't go through hell for the hell of it.
Mm.
So he's like, you know, essentially turn around and other people. And so, and that's where Confidence Academy was birthed from, was because during that season, I started suffering depression. I was at a low point. I started questioning my sanity at times. I started questioning my sanity, my self-worth, my self diminish, all of those different things. And so that's when, like, I felt like I needed to actually help other women as well as teen girls as well. So I started to give workshops, conversations, talks. Essentially, started around theme and confidence, but it grew to self-care as well.
Okay. And so I can always tell a confident woman when I see, it's just something that she exudes. What maybe are some of the things that you teach women to have that confidence? What are some of the traits that you feel go along with being a confident person?
So I would say one of them is understanding that your sister is not your competition.
Say that again, because you're breaking up again. Say that one more time.
Okay. I said understanding that your sister is not your competition. Because a lot of times, especially with women, we see each other as competition or as a threat. Instead of collaborating, we're trying to compete with each other.
Absolutely.
So that I, try to teach or coach about is that it's okay for us to collaborate. It's okay for us to complement each other. It's okay for you to be bad at doing your makeup. Guess what? That's that I'm skilled at. And
Right.
but what I can do is I can ask you, hey, can you give me some tips? Or a YouTube, video that you want. It's okay. Even asking for help. That is being confident. You're confident when you're able to say, I don't know how to do that. Can you show me the way?
That's huge. That's huge because so many of us are afraid to ask for help. Huge. Definitely.
Yeah. And even being confident enough to ask for a mentor. I think even the mentor needs a mentor. Even a pastor, even a CEO needs a mentor. So being confident enough to say, hey, can you mentor me? Coach me? Can you help me? Whether it's career, whether it's family, whether it's finances, knowing when to say I need assistance.
Yeah. And it's funny you said that because one of the reasons I created this brand, Hey Lady, was specifically for that. I wanted to be able to provide a resource where women could go to and see women who look like them from diverse backgrounds. I've had doctors, lawyers, public speaking, designers. I mean, just run the whole gamut so that you could tap into that resource and know that if it's something that you want to do or you need help with something, that these women are there to help you and you do not have to go at it alone. But I think sometimes as women, when we see another confident woman, whatever that is that's lacking inside of us, it just does something to that person. So to your point, when we work together, we can achieve so much more by doing that. You're also big on character. So when you say character, what does character mean to you?
So I link character with integrity.
You said character with integrity.
Integrity. Yep.
Okay.
I link character with integrity. And that is being the same person in private that I am in public. Whatever I do, being okay doing it, in public. That's my word as well. So I teach public health.
Okay.
So, professor, I teach public health. And so with this pandemic, the one thing from a public health perspective, from public health perspective, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, is like the guru. That's like the top notch, for us. I was very diligent in following the CDC rules because what do I look like teaching public health? And it was hard, but what do I look like teaching public health and I'm not following the rules that are set by the CDC? So for me, it was that was a decision from an integrity place, from a character place. And so that's just one example of how I think of character and integrity.
Okay.
That I'm a woman of my word, that I'm doing what I'm saying that I'm doing, that I'm the same person behind closed doors that I am, in public as well.
Integrity. You said you link character and integrity.
Yes.
The same. No, I love that. I love that. My grandmother used to say, your word is bond.
Yes.
You give somebody your word, that's it. So make sure.
And here's the thing for those movie fans And if you know this, you may want to, maybe you feel comfortable typing this, but even Tony Montana and Scarface said, all I have is my word and I'll break them for nobody. Right?
All right. No, it's true. You know, it is so true. Okay, so you've self-published 3 books. Look, first of all, let me give you a round of applause for that, because I've been writing a book for the last 20 years and I can't finish it. So the fact that you were able to do 3 of them, kudos to you. So what are the books about, and where can the audience find your books?
Absolutely. So I have the 3 books, like you said. One is called From Chaos to Confidence: How to Triumph After Traumatic Experiences. And that's essentially a story of when I went through that tumultuous season, with ending the engagement, Godfather being killed, all of that, and how God turned all of that around, used it to form Confidence Academy, used it to build relationships with other people, used it for these 3 books. And it goes back to go through hell for the hell up, you know. And so depending on how I handled that season, things could have looked differently. But I chose to use everything, every negative, and, you know, allow it to turn into a business. And so that's essentially what From Chaos to Confidence is about. And then Secrets of a Confident Woman and the Secrets of a Confident Teen, they're both devotions. So they're both devotions. And there's like 14 days where you can go through, and then there's reflections as well that you can go through, and you can answer those questions and reflect a little bit. Both of them are tied to faith. So there are tied to all of the books, I should say. And you can go to confidenceacademy.info. So confidenceacademy.info for that. And they are on Amazon as well.
Okay. All right. So we've got a young lady on here who's, you know, she just is not really good with the self-care part. You know, where would you tell her to start? Where should she start?
So I would say, in terms of self-care, list 3 items that you really enjoy doing. So what are 3 things that you really enjoy doing, that bring you happiness, that bring you joy? And then from that, consider, so to say, for instance, so for myself, movies, traveling, and I would say exercising or go on walk. So then when COVID hit, I couldn't travel.
Right.
I couldn't go to the movies.
Right. Right.
So when I tell you I walked so much last year, there were times where I may have walked, you know, 3 times a day, you know, literally, because everything else was wiped out. You know, we couldn't go to the gym either. So, so for me, it was walking at that time. So whatever's on your list, just think about what is of those realistically, what can I do? What can I actually do? Even if I would start with once a week.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do once a week, okay, look at once every 2 weeks. Maybe look at once a month, but maybe at least I would say once a month, do something for yourself. So again, if it is, you know what? I went to the movies to go see Black Widow. Went to go see Black Widow, had my popcorn, and I probably went at like 11 o'clock in the morning on a weekday. And I had a break in my schedule, and I was eating that popcorn.
Right. Right.
And that is what works for me. But it really depends, because it's going to look different for everyone.
Right.
Self-care could also be a matter of finance. Because we're, again, caring for ourselves, caring for our mental as well. Well, we know finances cause a lot of us a lot of hardship and
stress. Absolutely.
So maybe it's taking the time to get a financial advisor. Maybe it's taking time to go through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace. Mm-hmm. So again, it's going to look different for everyone. Maybe it's putting your phone on do not disturb. Maybe it's taking a long bubble bath and putting on Maxwell, or you know.
Yes, I do know.
Candles. So get your Bath and Body Works candles, and you know, maybe that's it. Maybe it's watching Bridgerton or reading a book. You know, whatever it is, it's going to look different for all of us, but still, just making sure that you do something that brings you joy and satisfaction.
Yeah, I like what you said earlier about really being intentional about your time and maybe setting the time to do it. And I think especially for women that have children, really teaching them, because that's something that I did with my son early on. Like, I would really be like, look, here's 30 minutes or an hour, and I would set a timer for him so that he knew, do not disturb mommy within this. And he was like so excited when the timer come off. He'd come running, mommy, the timer. You know, so we have to put those things into practice, you know, in order to develop that self-care. And okay, same woman, to your point earlier, she's lacking confidence because maybe she was married, and maybe everything that she thought she was tied to that marriage. How does she then now transition to being a single woman?
Absolutely. So I will say this, because I have not been married and not gone through a divorce, I know that I'm going to speak from a different place, because what I've heard that, you know, divorce is like, you know, literally it's
Like a
tearing,
death.
yeah, it's like you're tearing two people apart. I know what I went through with that engagement, but it was not a covenant. It was not in any way, shape, or form. But I would say, number one, I am an advocate, a huge advocate of therapy. Huge advocate of therapy. And so I would say maybe, you know, she should consider going to therapy, seeking some type of counsel and therapy. Maybe she can take time to really focus on some things that she may have put on hold for the marriage. I think sometimes we as women, we take life on hold a lot more than men.
Absolutely.
So
100%.
yeah. So, and this is the one thing I can tell you, going back to my engagement, I wanted the family. I didn't necessarily want the marriage, but I wanted the family. And being a Christian and trying to do things the biblical way, I knew I had to be married in order to have. And so I really wanted the family, not necessarily the marriage.
Right.
I wanted the wedding, but not necessarily the marriage. And so I'm glad that actually ended. You know, beforehand, because I do believe we would end up in, you know, in divorce. And so, but even then, it still was a grieving process I had to go. So I went to therapy. I went to professional counseling. I had spiritual counsel. And then I took time to really reevaluate myself. Who am I? Who am I? What do I want to accomplish? How can I get there? And so I had to make sure that I had the time to do the work, because with therapy, it is work, and it's like peeling back those onions, peeling back the layers. You have to be willing to do the work. And so that's one of the things that I would say is first starting with therapy, getting back. Terry McMillan had a book, Getting Back to Happy, Getting to Happy. And, you know, trying to find yourself again. And it may be a situation like where you have to recreate yourself.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with reinvention. Nothing wrong at all. Nothing wrong at all. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to take it to the audience and see if anybody has any questions or anything. There are a lot of just comments in here. Let's just see who we have. Give me 1 second as I scroll up. A lot of people are waving. You got a lot of people in here, Dr. Joy. Let's see. Anybody have any ideas? Any questions before I wrap it up with Dr. Joy? Let's see. Nothing is coming through. Just a whole bunch of waving and yes, girl, and and all of that. Okay, so real quick, as I wrap up with my guests, I always ask these questions. And so, what is the best advice ever given to you?
Oh,
I know that's a loaded question, but
it is. Oh gosh. I would say this was extremely hard, but it was from my pops, from my spiritual father, Pastor Marvin Jennings, and he told me to pray for my ex.
Child.
Extremely hard. And I remember crying, like, I wish I would pray for him.
Right.
You know, I wish I would. But he went back to the scripture. You know, the Bible reminds us to pray for those who mistreat you and misuse you. And so what happened, though, is eventually it was just like, God bless him. That's all I could say. You know,
Right.
Lord bless him. But what I realized is eventually what happened, as I prayed for him and as it increased, the weight came off of me. The
Mm.
weight came off of me. I felt lighter. I felt I didn't have as much annoyance and animosity, because again, while it was the best thing that could have happened, and I'm
Right.
grateful that it ended, it still was some hurt there as well. So that is one of the best things that I would say. It was the hardest because, like I said, I did not want to do it, but as I did it, I was healed in the process.
Yeah. Because we all know forgiveness is for you, not for the
Yes.
other person.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. What is your favorite quote?
Hmm. I would say Maya Angelou, when people
Mhm.
show you who they are, believe them.
Child, say it again.
Believe them. When they
Believe them.
believe them the first time.
The
That's
first time. Yeah.
so,
No. No. So many of us, you know what it is? I think I can only speak for myself when it comes to that. And while I know that's a very true statement, I think oftentimes we just want to see the good in people and we want to believe the good in people, you know? And so although they've shown us something contrary to that, there's still a part of us that's like, oh, but I know, you know, no, when they show you who they are, believe them the first time. So, all right, as we wrap up, is there any parting words that you would like to leave with the audience this evening?
so this is something, yes, there is. And I will say this, this is something that I'm still going through, but this is something that tremendously blessed me. And that is, don't despise the process.
Mm,
I've been in a space of process. And a lot of times we want the promise, but we don't want to go through the process. And so
sure. Mm,
despise the process, whatever that process is for you. And again, I'm still in this place of process. One of my friends who's on here, she makes me sick when she says this. And I just want her to know she makes me sick when she says it, but she always tells me, you in a crock pot.
mm.
You're in the crock pot. This is not a microwave situation. You're in the crock pot.
Slow
So
cooker.
you got to go through some things,
Slow cooker. I love it.
And so, so don't despise whatever it may be. If it's career, you may have a process that you have to go through in your career. You may have to get laid off. You may need that layoff to
Right.
help catapult you into starting your own business. You may need the layoff to give you the boost that you need, or the time that you need to apply for other positions and interview for other positions, and it may end up being a promotion.
Right.
You may need that relationship to end because he was going to drive you to hell. you know
Right.
drive you
Right.
to hell in,
In the handbasket. Mm-hmm.
and so it may have been meant for that relationship to end, or maybe the relationship didn't start. You should not have went past hello, but you did. And
Right.
maybe that, why did he ghost me, right? Like, why did
Right.
he ghost me? Oh my gosh. But maybe that was God's protection.
Hello. That's what I say. God's rejection is often God's protection. So,
Right.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, so whatever that process may be. Hey Tanya. But even with Tanya, right? That's how I met you, was through Tanya.
Right. Absolutely.
Tanya's my hairstylist. And just even the process of her having the salons in Georgia to,
Yeah. Yeah.
opening a salon here. Like, don't despise the process. We don't know what God is up to, but we have to stand firm on, regardless if you are a believer or not, standing firm on all things work together for the good. Whatever it is, all things will work together. So just don't despise the process. It's for everything that you're going through is for a reason. If it's a delay, every delay is for your benefit. And so that's what I would share.
I love it. Well, all right, guys. Look, she summed that up succinctly. Thank you so much. Couldn't have said it any better. So again, can you please tell everyone where they can find you on Instagram and your website?
Absolutely. So first I want to thank you. Thank you for this platform.
You're welcome.
To share. I appreciate this, and thank you for what you do for women's empowerment and all of that. So thank you. Kudos to you, and I want to make sure that we give you your flowers. So if everyone can,
I'm taking them. I'm taking them. I'm taking them. I'm taking them. Thank you. Thank you.
You can find me at I am Dr. Joy, I am Dr. Joy, as well as www.confidenceacademy.info, confidenceacademy.info.
All right. Well, before we go, we're going to toast it out because we are not going to let a good glass of wine go to waste. Clean, 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 clean. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, Dr. Joy. Thank you for allowing us to feature you as our Lady of the Week. I do not take your time for granted. And I just want to say thank you so, so much. Okay? All right.
I appreciate it. Have a great night, everyone.
All right, everyone. Bye. See y'all later. All right. Take care, Dr. Joy. Okay. Oh my God, guys, look, this is the season finale of season 3. I cannot believe it's been 10 whole weeks, guys. I have put down, I want to say about 34 of these since I started last October. Again, I just want to say thank you to all of you who come in here every week into the wine room to watch these phenomenal ladies give you such good insight, advice. And we're talking about women from all diverse backgrounds, attorneys, lawyers, designers, mothers, you name it, we've had it. And I just want to say thank you guys so much. I know your time is precious, and I just again want to say thank you for spending your Wednesday evenings with me here on Wind Down Wednesday, Lady of the Week. All right, y'all. Season 4 is going to start September 15, y'all. I'm taking the month of August off because this every week is something else. So taking the month of August off. We will be back for season 4 on September 15, and I'm headed out the country tomorrow. All right, y'all. Have a good evening. Thank you guys for joining me. Bye.